Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. We continue our Bleacher build today. A couple things. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you want to help support this channel, please buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. I'm not in it for the money, but any support that you guys can give me, that would be great. The other thing is I'm late getting a video out this week. It's been a week. Life sometimes get in our way of having fun, right? Anyway, but I donate some time to the Federation, which is the world's largest Star Trek fan club slash disaster relief organization. And anyway, they're building a new headquarters just north of where I live, and I've been asked to help do some light construction stuff in their new headquarters. And so that's what I started my week out doing. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty cool. A friend of mine was a really good friend with Gene Roddenberry, and they started this organization together. Obviously, Gene's gone now, but yeah, we're in the process of building a full-size original series USS Enterprise bridge. And I'm restoring a 13-foot model of the USS Enterprise Alpha. So, yeah, and plus a lot of doctor's appointments and things like that this week. So, apologize for not getting a video out sooner. Anyway, we continue on our build, and this one I'm just going to show you a few options of adding different kind of components to your bleachers. It doesn't have to be a bleacher, by the way. It could be like framing for a building or whatever you want. A couple things that some prerequisites that you really need if you go to Edit, Preferences, and if you haven't already, type in Extra, and you're going to see Add Curve Extra Objects, Add Mesh Extra Objects. I recommend that you install this add-on, and it actually comes with Blender. You just have to come up here and type in Extra and enable those. The other thing is Archimesh. Right there, add Archimesh. All right, and that also comes with Blender. If I can't remember if it comes with Blender, I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, where you do doors and windows and stairs and things like that. And I'm going to show you the disadvantage of using Archimesh for the stairs to build your bleachers. Okay, so prerequisites for today is have that Extra Objects add-on enabled and also have Archimesh enabled. Okay, so let's pretend. All right, so this is kind of like where we left off last time. We built our bleacher sections, cut in some openings for some stairs, and added those in. I showed you how to do that, plus the seat itself for the bleacher. Different ways you can do that. Obviously, I gave it some thickness and stuff like that you don't necessarily have. Now, if you notice in the previous videos, I did not give the actual bleacher any thickness. You can if you want. It's totally up to you on the amount of detail. But obviously, when your pilot is VFR flying at 3,000 feet, you're not going to see the thickness of the bleacher anyway. So it's totally up to you. Think about your pilot's frame rates and all that kind of stuff. Normally for the highly detailed, which would be LOD00, I might give it some thickness. So if your pilot is exploring your scenery, you can add more detail to LOD00. But obviously 01 on down, I would not have any thickness to this at all. But if you don't have any thickness, all right, if you don't have any thickness and you apply a texture to it, if the bottom looks like the top, okay, make sure that your texture is applied to both sides, okay. If you don't do that, from underneath the bleachers, your bleachers are going to disappear. They're going to be transparent because the texture is on the front side. All right, so remember that. So apply your textures. Most of you guys know this stuff anyway. Matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that I'm showing you today, people that have been in Blender know this stuff pretty much like the back of their hand as well. But I'm going to show you a good way to make like columns. All right, these skeletons for bleachers are just a series of cross members and I-beams and L-beams and all that kind of stuff. So there's a good way to do that. You can model it. Matter of fact, if let me turn this bleacher off here, just so. Let's turn this off. I'm going to hit A, and I'm going to add a cube. And we're going to hit period to zoom in on that cube. All right. You can easily turn this cube into an I-beam, obviously, by going into edit mode, and let's add a couple loop cuts. Let's add 2 loop cuts here. And hit escape so I don't move it, and then let's scale that in the X direction, pull that out, and I'm not measuring, I'm just showing you a quick way. All right, and so you can create a couple cuts like that, and then basically in the middle, Control R, do another set of loop cuts going perpendicular. Hit, whoops, I hit that too soon. What do I want? All right, there we go. All right, hit my scroll wheel to add another segment of my loop cut. Hit enter and escape so you don't move it. And we're going to scale this in the Z. And you can slide that down to kind of make look. There's your profile of your I-beam. Now, here's the disadvantage. All right, so I'm going to go into face select, and I'm going to select all these faces on this side here. And we're going to go ahead and delete those faces. Oops, I forgot that one, and whoops, that one and that one. We're going to delete those two. All right, now notice that I have the shape of the I-beam, but the problem is we're kind of hollow. All right, we don't have these faces here, but you can turn on vertice, and you can select your I don't want to do that. You can select your vertices like this, hit F and add a face, but you'll have to do that to each face that's missing. All right, so that takes a while. All right, but that's one way that you can make an I-beam. Okay, now I'm going to get a tab out, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to turn our bleacher section back on. All right. You notice that I have my 3D cursor right at this point here, and that was simply selecting the bleacher, tab into edit mode, select that vertex, and then Shift S and cursor to selected. Okay, so that's how, obviously that's how I got there. Hopefully most of you know that basic function, right? Okay, so if you want to do a quick way of making an I-beam, let's get out of edit mode. All right, and let's do a Shift A to add a new object. All right, and if you come down to extras, this is why you have to have that extra objects add-on. Okay, if you come down to extras, you see you get a whole bunch of lists, and a lot of these are very handy to do some quick modeling. But in this particular case, we want an I-beam. So it's not an I-beam, it's actually a column, but if you notice up in Archimesh, it has column. All right, you only get a round column and a square column using Archimesh. But if you come down to extra and go to beam builder, Okay, now I had some presets in here because I was using this before and I already have the size that I want. All right, so that's why it looks like this. Normally it would come up to being 1 meter or 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. Okay, by default or something like that. I can't remember the size, but I've already changed the size. The problem, here's the only disadvantage of using the beam builder, is all of these values in the context menu, these are metric. Now, if you're on the metric system, this is not going to phase you or whatever. But if you're working in your units, if you come over here, I have my units set to imperial because I'm in the United States and most of our measurements are imperial measurements. I know the metric system, okay? Don't dog me. I do know the metric system. But when I'm on Google Earth and stuff, it's by default my Google Earth or Google Earth Pro is in feet, and plus all the places that I go to for aerial photos and measure and stuff like that, they're usually in feet too. So anyway, I have to convert them anyway. So anyway, all the any measurements in any context menu, whether it's Archimesh or Extra Objects, pipe, and all that kind of stuff, those are always in metric. So you're going to have to convert them ahead of time. All right. So I know that the length from the ground to the top of the bleacher set is like 36 feet, 36 and a quarter. Well, I had to convert that to metric, so that's where that 11.05 comes. That's meters, all right. And then the height, which is going in this direction, it's going in this direction. This is the depth. This is the height. And this is the width. All right. So anyway, so I have a width of 0.33, which is about 1 foot from here to here. And then I have for the height, which is about 8 inches or so. It's from here to here, something like that. I can't remember. And then I have my depth as 11 meters. 11 meters. But anyway, know the context is metric. So you'll have to convert if you're working in imperial. For all those in metric, you have nothing to worry about. All right, so anyway, since I've already created the I-beam before, it remembers what I did last. All right, so that's why all these dimensions are set. So we have an I-beam, and basically it was just coming over to the profile and choosing the kind of profile. Like here's a C profile, but it's using all the same dimensions that I added in. So we have a C beam. You can do box profiles. Why you would do that, unless somebody's looking here, you can just use a cube for that if you're not going to see the end like this. All right, so you got all these different. You got U channel. You got L beams, and you have T's. Okay, all of these will come in looking in the profile that you select. Okay, so we're doing an I-beam. All right, now make sure that everything is set in terms of your dimensions of your I-beam before you leave this menu. If you hit Control Z at any point before you commit these changes, you'll have to start this over, but it will remember your last measurements. All right, so I think I got my I-beam set. All right, and this particular stadium has I-beams for columns, and that's really what I built here. So now, as soon as I click on it, notice my context menu goes away. That means if you want to change anything, you have to start all over. That's the bad thing about the extra objects, okay? Now, a couple things I have to do. Obviously, I have to rotate it so it's standing up because this is a beam builder, so everything's going to be horizontal and not vertical, okay? So you need to know that right off the bat since I'm using beams, but the column functions only gives me two options, a round column or a square column. Okay, so I'm using the beams to make a I-beam column. Does that make sense? All right, you're with me. I'm gonna try not to keep you here all day. All right, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna stand it up. So I'm gonna rotate it on the x-axis 90 degrees. So we're gonna rotate x 90, stand that bad boy up. Okay, plus, and then the other thing is usually the I-beam is the sides of the I-beam right here, these long sides, they're usually going in this direction because of the strength. All right. Okay, since there's downward force from all the people on here, if it's in this orientation, it could bend over this way toward this direction. Okay, so construction wise, we're going to rotate that on the Z by 90. All right, so let's escape, try this again, rotate Z 90, hit enter, there we go. Now we're committed. All right, so now the beam is oriented correctly, so the weight distribution on the bleachers won't have a tendency, because this is the strongest point of the I-beam is in this direction, perpendicular. All right, so we have the I-beam correct in terms of its orientation. This may be too much information for you, but it's a bad habit. I was in construction for many years, so that's where I'm at. All right, so we're going to tab into edit mode, and then all of the vertices, we've got vertex mode on here. All the vertices are orange, so they're all selected. But I only want to select, we're going to zoom in here so you can get a better look. All right, I'm only going to select one of these nodes here. Actually, I want all of them, but I'm going to shift unselect this one, shift click and select that, and it's white. And up here in my snapping options, we're going to come down and make sure that active is turned on. And we are going to G, and we're going to snap that right there at the end of our bleacher, just like that. Okay. Now, if you have thickness, you'll probably want to drop that down a little bit further. Okay. Plus, you might want to drop this down further anyway, because these lines will bleed through any texture that you have. So you'll get some flickering right here if you have a texture on this one. Okay. So you can drop that down just a little bit. So let's drop it down an inch. So I'm going to GZ minus, and an inch in decimal is 0.083. Okay, so we brought it down about an inch. All right, so if I add an inch thickness to my bleacher, I'll be fine. All right, and so we don't have any bleeds coming through. All right, now we're going to usually what I do when I make something that's kind of complex, I try to make one copy and then do my array. Okay, but if you wanted to do it the long way, you can actually start at this point right now, and let's drop tab out. I'm going to go to object, I'm going to apply all transformations. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into edit mode with tab, and we're going to come over to the wrench, and we're going to do an array, and it's going in the it's going in the X. All right, but I don't want a relative offset. I want to make that a constant distance. And right now it's at 3.2808 feet, which is 1 meter. Okay, but I don't want to go in the X, so I'm going to zero that out. I'm going to come down to the Y, and we're going to go, and since this going to that direction, going to the right is the actual negative direction. Because remember, this, I can't do that yet. Let me, okay, that's actually our front. So this is the positive X. Whoops, wrong key. That's the cap lock. All right, so To the right is positive X, to the left is negative X, away from me up in this direction is positive Y, all right? So we're going to come around the back, and now everything's opposite. Negative is to the right. So with our column selected, our I-beam column, whatever you want to call it, we got array turned on, and we're going to make this go in the negative direction minus, let's say, 24 feet. Okay? So I'm going to get a column every 24 feet, but we need to add some. Okay? And so I'm just clicking until we get to the end of our bleacher, right? Just like this. Now it's, whoops, this is the one I want. Now it's not going to be lined up perfect. See, I kind of overshot that. Well, basically what you do is take the length, the overall length of your bleacher, and then divide it by the distance between, and then they'll line up, okay? But for this video, we're just going to do it this way, okay? Now, you can do this, and what I usually like to do is, now you're going to have some more posts in here, right? It's going to stair step up. You're going to have a column stair stepping up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control D, and all of that's a copy. I'm going to hit escape so I don't inadvertently move it. And then I'm going to move it in the negative Y direction, which is this direction. Okay, so we're going to GY minus, and let's say 16 feet. Okay, and then you can so we want the top of this one. All right, we want the top of this one, so I'm going to hit period to zoom in on my selection, and we're going to make sure that all of these vertices are selected first. Now I don't want to do a select all, because it would select this one, and I don't want that one. All right, so we're going to zoom back in here. Oh, I didn't turn X-ray on. Let's turn X-ray on. Sorry. And let's reselect those and then zoom back in. And remember, I chose on that other column, I chose this one. So I'm going to hit Shift once, unselect it, Shift twice to make that the active vertex, right? Okay. Now I did that wrong. All right, let's do this one more time. All right, I'm going to click off the unselect, because I don't need to change the bottom on this one. So we're just going to select these, and then we're going to zoom in, because I only want these top vertices. And I'm going to click, holding down the Shift to make that vertice the active one. And we are going to move it down level with this step right here. So I'm going to G, Z, and since I have vertex snap on, it drops it down to that, right? Okay, we can go a little bit further. We can select this again, Control D, and we're going to move in the Y negative, and what did I say, 16 feet, and we'll make another one. Okay, now I'm only going to make these 3, but you would do this all the way down depending on the amount of detail that you want. All right, and then I'm going to select these vertices again, hit period on my keyboard to focus in, hit Shift, click, click, make that active, and we're going to drop that Z down to match this step. Okay, so G, Z, and snap down here. Now it may not line up perfectly. Okay, and if it doesn't line up perfectly, if you want them, if you're anal like I am, and you want them to be right where they are, all right, I'm going to select all of these and zoom back into here, and I'm going to make this vertex active, and I'm going to move that in the Y, GY, and we're going to click it right there, and then it's right underneath the step, just like that first one was. Okay, now this one isn't either, but we're not going to be that critical. Okay, now, and since I have array on, it's doing all the rest of the work for me, but I'm only working on my model here. All right, now And we need some cross members. And let's pretend we put some columns down here. I'm not going to bore you by adding all of those, okay? But let's say we have some cross beams. Let's turn off X-ray so we can kind of get a look at our stuff here, all right? Let's say we have cross beams going in this direction, all right? And let's say they are also I-beams, but they're smaller, okay? We can simply take our first one and we can Shift D to copy that, okay, and hit escape so you don't move it. But let's rotate that on the x-axis 90 degrees. So we're going to rotate x 90, okay? And when we're going to kind of zoom in here like this, all right? So we have one for each one of those, right? Oh, you know what I did? See, you notice what I did? Yeah, I don't have all my I-beam because I didn't have X-ray when I selected that. So let's do a couple Control Z's, all right? And let's turn our X-ray back on and then select these again. Shift D to copy, hit escape so I don't move it inadvertently, rotate X 90, there we go. Now we have the whole thing, okay? Yeah, now we have the whole thing. But usually, sometimes, these cross aren't, they might have the same, they might be the same, and then they have some gussets on the corners. But let's say that our cross members going in this direction are a little narrower, okay? Let's say they fit inside this I-beam and then they're welded or bolted or whatever, okay? So with this selected, we can scale in the X direction, hold down my Shift, and slightly scale that, just like that. So if I zoom into this spot here, it looks like that I-beam is inside of there, okay? Normally it's cut here and then there's a gusset where these two come together. So sometimes if I hit a Control Z, it'll put it back the way it was, okay? Now, and I'll show you how to clean up this stuff here in a second. Okay, but maybe it's not as high, so you can scale in the Z, that's SZ, and let's scale that down a little bit, just like that. We'll make it the same width, but we'll make it just a little shorter, okay? All right, and then I can just start connecting some points here, all right? So I'm gonna come over here and I'm going to hold my Shift key and I'm going to select this, make that active, all right, and we are going to move it so it's dead on with this one, all right. So with that selected, I'm going to hit GY and then I'm going to come over here and snap to this vertex right here. So now it looks like this abuts up against there, right? You guys with me? All right, so we need to do the same to this end. So I'm going to zoom in here and we're going to select all these points. We don't want these points over here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in and I've got to turn my X-ray on because I didn't get one selected. So got X-ray on there and I'm going to Shift click twice to make that one active. And we are going to move it over so it's even with this vertex right here. So GY and then snap to there. So now it's abutting this one and this one. Okay, now if I textured this and brought it into the sim, you guys would cuss at me because you got a bunch of flickering going on. So let's turn off X-ray because I would have competing normals right here, and so it'd cause that flicker in the sim, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to do a Control R, and we're going to do a loop cut, and we are going to, whoops, I don't have a snap on, do I? I wanna snap to an edge because I don't have a vertex in that area. We're gonna move that Y and we're gonna snap it right here, and then I'm gonna do a Control R, another loop cut, and I'm gonna select here and drag this down and snap to that right there. Okay, now we're going to turn X-ray back on, and we're going to go polygon select, and we're going to select these polygons, and we're simply just going to delete those. Okay, and then get at it, edit mode, and take a look. All right, and then everything that I'm building is getting arrayed automatically because I'm putting everything into this object right here. Okay, so you would continue by putting up putting some more I-beams. This one might be, there might be another one down here. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let's tab into edit mode. Let's do X-ray, and we're going to select these faces, and we're going to select these faces. All right, and we're going to shift D to copy them, escape so I don't move them, GZ, and we're just going to slide that down maybe like that. All right, so we're building our frame. All right, now you might have an I-beam that goes across this way, or you might have some diagonals coming over here. Okay, now the only problem with doing something going in this direction, the direction of our array, is that the very last one over here would also have extensions coming out there. So once you apply that array, you'll have to go in and delete those. Okay, you guys catch what I'm talking about? Okay, I'll show you. We'll add one. So let's take this I-beam and let's shift D. Let's make a copy of it, and I hit escape so I don't move it. Right? Yeah, I did. All right, now let's rotate this on the Z-axis 90. So rotate Z 90. I want to go negative 90, negative 90. It doesn't matter because it's symmetrical, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vertex, and I'm going to try to get this corner as the active one. And we are going to move it so we snap over here on this edge right here. So I got edge select, so we are going to move this in the Y till it snaps right here. Okay, and then we're going to move that in the Y so it's, oops, that was the Y. I want to move it in the X until it snaps at this end. All right, and then all we need to do is take these vertices right here, ghost mode on here, X-ray ghost mode, whatever you want to call it. All right, and we are going to hit period to focus in, and I'm going to select this twice to make that active, and then we're simply going to oh yeah, that's the thing. Since this is an array, it won't snap to it. So if I do a GX, there's nothing there. It's a ghost. It's not applied yet. So I can't snap it to this unless I applied everything else, right? Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape. And I'm just going to do it close for this purpose. Now, normally, I would take an object that's perpendicular to or going in the same direction as the array. I'd make it its own object. I wouldn't add it into here with these here. I would make this all by itself and then do an array on that. Okay. But let's just have some fun here, and let's come down here. Whoops. Let's turn off our, and see if I can get it close. All right, so I'm going to GX, and we're just going to slide that until it goes in a little bit here. Let me zoom in. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. All right, so I'm going to GX that some more, hold my shift key, and let's stop it right there. That's close enough for what we're doing. Okay, now remember what I told you about the end. I'm going to tab out of edit mode, and we're going to slide down to the other end. And notice I have an extra one sitting here. All right, in order to get rid of that, after you apply your modifier, let's go ahead and do that. Now, before we get to that, you might want to add some L-shaped beams and make those diagonal going across here to create some cross bracing. All right, so you can do that as well. So let's come over here to our end. All right, and let's go back into edit mode. This is usually not the real way that I do it. I usually make these separate. Okay, and I want to move my 3D cursor to right here. So I'm going to Shift S, move cursor to selected. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an L beam here. So I'm going to tab out. I'm going to make it its own object. Okay, and so I'm going to Shift A, and we're going to come to Mesh, and we're going to go to Extras, Beam Builder. And we're going to change this into an L bracket or an L beam. Okay, so it's kind of like that. All right. But we want it standing up. All right. But we have enough to work with right now. All right. So we are going to commit that by clicking off of the context menu. And we can scale it different ways to make it smaller. You can do all the dimensions if you wanted to. Okay, but we're gonna scale in the X to make that a little smaller. No, I don't want that. I'm gonna do a Shift Z so I don't. In order to do that, I have to apply a modifier, all transforms. That's why. Okay, now let's go into edit mode. And let's scale this in the X. And we're going to slide that down there. And then we're going to scale it in the Z. And we're going to make it a little smaller, kind of like that. All right. And then we're going to get out of edit mode here. And we are going to rotate on the Y. Rotate Y. 90 standing up. Whoops, didn't work right. Oh, let's go into edit mode. Select all. Rotate Y. 90. Nope, that's not the direction I want to go. Backspace minus 90 to stand that L up, just like that. All right. And then we're going to rotate on the Z. 90. That way it doesn't really matter which way you do it. All right. And then we're going to come over to this end. Going to select these vertices, hit period to zoom in, and we're going to select all, and then click to make that one active. And we are going to turn this to vertex snap, and I'm going to zoom out, come over here, and we are going to snap that. We're going to move this object right here. So I'm going to hit G, boom, snaps right down the center, just like that. Now, it's a cross beam, so I'm going to select these. Let me turn Ghost on so I get all of those selected. Okay. And then we're going to take these, and we're going to move these down to right here. Okay, so I'm going to G, Z to there. All right. Okay, something like that, right? It's not perfect. All right, and then we are going to move this in this direction till it snaps to this edge. So I want edge select, and we're going to GX. We're going to go right here until it snaps to this right here. Boom. Okay. Then if you have another one, you can select all, and let's do a Shift D to copy that, escape so I don't inadvertently move it. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate this. Wait a minute, I can't rotate that the way it is now. With everything selected, I'm going to Shift S, cursor to selected so it's right in the middle, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to change my transformation orientation to 3D cursor, and then I'm going to rotate this. Is that right? Rotate on the Z, and we're going to go 180. And so now we have a cross beam. All right. And then if I get over here and I go to add a modifier, array modifier, turn off relative, go to constant, give it in the X direction. Right now it's at 1 foot. That's 1 foot over. All right. We can make that 24, minus 24, sorry, minus 24. And then you can array that with as many pieces, parts as you want. Okay, so we're going to do that by hitting this. Zoom down here, add a couple more. But then we're going to get that last one there that will actually with this one, if we had this, if we did precise measurement, okay, with this one we can -1 because we're actually working with something going in the direction of the array, so we don't get this last one. All right, and then you get out of edit mode and make sure that you hit A, object, apply all transformations for everything. Then you can select your frames. Okay, so here's the first frame, and we need to make a correction right here. You can come over here out of when you're not in edit mode and apply all modifications or all modifiers. All right, so now all of this is editable. Okay, sorry for that interruption. I knew this was going to happen during recording, but anyway, we had a delivery truck that showed up with grain for our cattle, and so I had to get that unloaded. So I'm back, so that's why you probably heard something in the background there. All right, so what we're doing next is we have this extra piece, so I'm just going to select our object that has that in it. Oh, actually, they're all in there. I forgot. Okay, yeah, I did those members the same. Okay, the cross beams are separate. That's right. Okay, so we're going to select our main part, and we're going to go into edit mode and select these. Hit period to zoom in, and let's do face select, ghost, and select that and delete it. Do I have the profile? Nope, I don't have an ends on there, so we're good. All right. So yeah, that's a simple, pretty much a simple way to make your framing for your bleachers, or you can even use this to make your frames inside hangers and stuff like that by using the extra objects and I-beam creators and all that kind of stuff, instead of laying out each component like I first showed you at the beginning of the video. Makes it a little bit more difficult or time consuming to do it individually like that. So yeah, that extra objects is great for making any kind of framing, and you use your imagination on how you want to put things together. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to what I want to do is I'm going to show you about that Archimesh stairs, okay, and trying to make bleachers based on that. All right, so what I'm going to do is with my 3D cursor right here, all right, no, I want my 3D cursor. I'm going to go into edit mode, turn on vertex, select this vertex down here, Shift S, cursor to selected. And then I'm going to get out of edit mode. I'm going to Shift A, and we're just going to add a cube for right now. I'm going to go to Mesh Cube, and I'm going to object I'm gonna GZ1 because the default's 2 by 2 by 2, and I want to bring it up a foot. Okay, so it's flat on the ground. All right, and then we're gonna zoom in here. There we go. See, just like that. All right, now what I want to do is we're gonna move this in the Y, just away from our bleachers. Okay, and with that selected, I am going to Shift S and move my cursor to there. So whatever I put on the screen doesn't interfere with the bleachers. Okay, now I'm going to turn off that cube because we don't need it for this exercise. I just wanted my 3D cursor in this location, right? I could have hit 3D cursor and clicked and moved it over there, but sometimes one thing is faster for me to do. All right, so with my cursor here, if I went into hit Shift A to add, come down to Mesh, come over to Archimesh, and go to Stairs. All right, notice how it builds really quick a nice stair step. And remember, these dimensions are in metric. All right, so if you want to use, if you're using United States standards, 7¼ inch rise and a 9-inch run for the treads, okay, you'll need to convert those into metric. All right, but I'm not going to do any of that today. I'm just going to show you how Archimesh builds stairs. Okay, so we have the stair, and just like any other context menu, if I click these stairs right now with my mouse, my context menu will go away, and everything that I have, if I wanted to, it will disappear. I'll have to start over. All right, so make sure that all your steps stuff is in there. So the stairs by default are 1 meter across. Okay, and the depth is 3. Okay, so you'll want to mess with the sizes to get them the way that you want. But since our bleachers has 30 sections, I can easily just come over here to number steps and type in 30, and I have a stair step that goes up 30 stairs. All right, okay, I think, is that how many I had here? Maybe I had 30. I can't remember how many I had. Watch the other video how many sections I had. Of course, my stairs are smaller. That's right, my stairs are smaller because I had, on our bleacher, I had a 2 foot here and 14 inches, yeah, 2 foot or 1.5 feet, I can't remember. Oh, 30 inches on the deck and 14-inch rise, and then I had another object that had an intermediate step, right, for the 7¼ So don't judge it by the size. I'm just using the defaults just to show you how Stair Creator is different. All right, now if I tabbed into edit mode, let's say we had all these parameters correct. All right, now if you wanted rounded, okay, it will round the treads like this. Obviously bleachers aren't like that. All right, so you can do rounded or rectangular stairs. Okay, now if let's click on that, our context, so we're committed to this. If we wanted to change anything, we'd have to recreate it. All right, but it remembers the last measurements, so if you're only adding number steps, you're fine. All right, but if I go into edit mode, tab in, notice something. Our width was 1 meter, okay, but what it does, it automatically adds in a mirror modifier. Okay, so this step is being mirrored to give us the other half. All right, and in order to make, if you wanted this as the actual width, you would have to apply this modifier. Okay, you can't do that in edit mode, so tab out, apply this modifier, And then if I went back into edit mode, now I can edit that stair over here. So if I wanted to go to X-ray, select all these here, and let's move those in the which direction? X direction. You know, I can slide and make my bleachers this way if I wanted to. Another problem that I have is with the Archimesh version method is you get the stair tread nose. You get this little overhang, okay? If you don't want that, if you don't want this overhang, and bleachers don't have an overhang, they don't have a nose on the tread, okay? They just come up and then straight across because they don't want people to trip, all right, on bleachers, all right? So the Archimesh stair adds this nose on it, okay? Plus, if you're, and when you change the width of it, this mirror modifier gets changed. So I'm going to tab out. I'm going to hit delete our stairs, and I'm going to shift A. We're going to go to mesh. We're going to go back to Archimesh, go back to stairs. Please let me silence my phone. There we go. Sorry, a lot of interruptions today. All right, so we have our staircase made again, and it's back to the defaults that we had. But if we change this to, let's make that 3 meters across, okay, and then I tab out, notice, all right, it makes half and then mirrors, okay? Whatever dimension you put in, it's actually mirrored half of that dimension, okay? So now our center line's over here, okay? So if you want to change, okay, what am I trying to say? Well, the stairs adds additional objects to the model, okay? And the objective model creation for the sim is to have as the least number of vertices, faces, edges as possible. You want to make it as simple. You don't want a bunch of extra stuff in there, okay? So if I went over to the mirror modifier and applied modifications, okay? And if I turn ghost mode off, okay, I have all this extra stuff. See, the bleachers now have, if these were bleachers I was making, now they have all these extra end caps, okay? Now, they may have end caps that you want to keep, that's fine. But if I went into edit mode and I didn't want those, I would have to go in and select these like this and delete them. Delete faces, okay? So know that with the Archimesh, it creates a whole bunch of extra stuff, okay? Now, what you could do is, once you have like your end pieces, let me select these end pieces and get rid of them. I'll be right back. Okay, I have a few of them deleted out of my way. I didn't do the others. I didn't do it all the way up. Okay, so I got rid of those end caps, all right? But if I go into edit mode, if I go back into edit mode and turn on ghost, I'll turn vertice on. I have all these extra vertices going down the middle, okay? So the Archimesh stair tool adds too many features, and you don't need these extra vertices going down the middle, right? So basically what you would end up doing is selecting these middle, deleting those vertices like this, and only have the end pieces, okay? Now, you can select edge loops, edge mode on here, right click and bridge edge loops. Okay, now I didn't do it correctly. Okay, I knew that this was going to happen. Okay, let me Control Z. You would have to select all of the stair components as an edge loop. Like if I selected this edge and came across and selected this edge, right clicked and hit edge loop, then it would create a tread going all the way across. All right. So anyway, using the stairs for Archimesh is convenient, but yet there's a lot of cleanup. Okay. So I really don't recommend using the stair tool to make bleachers in this particular case. But if you're making a simple set of stairs for a house, I recommend using the stair tool, okay, depending on the kind of stuff that you want to do. All right, so let's get out of edit mode. I'm going to hit delete because we're not going to worry about that anymore. But another thing I'll show you about the stair tool, Shift A, Mesh, Archimesh, Stairs, okay. And then we're going to cut this to, 3. All right. We'll leave the dimensions and all the caveats up. Okay. But let's say we want to, what is it? What was it? Side 1. No, that's not what I wanted. Let me pause, get my bearings here for a second. I saw it right away. I want closed sides. I click this, and if I turn ghost mode off, notice that it closes the entire end, right? Okay. And if I had this 36 steps up, I would have this big closed in end. Well, if you're doing like a concrete that has ends, you can do this, all right? But if I go into edit mode, I have all these extra polygons or faces that I don't need, okay? See, I got a face here, I got a face here, I got a face here. Well, if it has an end, you're not going to see that. But it has a face right here. Let me turn this off. It has a face here, 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 here. See how Archimesh adds in more objects than you really need? Because most of the time people aren't going to see that. You'd really want this stair thing to be one face and then apply a texture to it. So that is why I don't use Archimesh for making like bleachers and stuff. But for like simple steps going to the houses and stuff like that, and I want a quick and dirty, I'll use Archimesh to make those stairs and then make some modifications because it's a lot less cleanup. Okay, so today we showed you a way to make a frame system for your bleachers and showed you what Archimesh Stairs does. I do recommend that you go into the extra objects and poke around and see some of this stuff. I'm going to hit delete. We're going to Shift A and we're going to come down here to Mesh and go to extra objects. But a lot of this stuff is pretty kind of cool. Wall factory where you can make wall segments and stuff. Obviously step pyramid. Honeycomb is going to be kind of neat because right now I'm working on some trucks, scenery trucks, and the grill in front of the truck actually is honeycomb, so I'll be able to use this to make a simple honeycomb thing and do some scaling and stuff like that to make the grill for the front of the truck. All right, so I really recommend that you explore the extra objects to see if that can help you. And the same way, and the same with Archimesh. Look at Archimesh. Look at the different things that you can create and see if you like them. All right. So anyway, that was today's video. It was probably longer than it really needed to be. But that is one way of making a frame for your bleachers. Anyway, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't, please do subscribe. And like I said, if you feel inclined to support me, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. And I will see you guys next week on another video. We'll see you later.